Today we're going to share proven tools to measure how your stories are landing with current and prospective customers. Because the way customers evaluate brands has changed in the last 5 years, let alone the last year with COVID-19. There may be a lot of research that goes into trying a brand for the first time, and there's a lot of data out there. They're looking for trust and transparency. They want to understand who you are as a brand before they commit. There's a ton of competition, and we've got access to nearly perfect information with the internet. So it's extremely important to address how customers are looking at you for the first time. We really call this share of mind, where you sit in the consideration set for a customer. Then there's share of voice, which is the amount of advertising you're putting out there, how present you are in the customer's life. And then there's share of market, which is more of a sales measure, how your sales stack up to your competitors. Your content has the opportunity to reinforce your brand message and your brand story at every single touch point, whether that's a website or your social media or any of your other efforts. But how do you objectively tell how your stories are landing with these folks? You take a look at the tools that are available, things like Google Analytics and Google Console, where you show up in search engine rankings, where your content places you, the stickiness of your content, how long people are engaging with your content on a website, the engagement on social media. A lot of these measures are readily available, but very few brands take advantage of it. There's also organic conversations that are happening either by mentions in social or publicity, public relations, the industry talking about you. You're always trying to answer the question for the customer of what business you're in and, quite frankly, why the customer should care. There's enough competition out there nowadays that you need to be able to clearly articulate this message, else they're not going to spend the time or the energy to try and figure it out for themselves. And if you get this right, you'll win the customer's heart and mind, which is really the goal. You want that emotional connection, and you want your content to help drive that. But we're not seeing the same customer loyalty that we did a decade ago. There are just far too many choices out there, and a lot of reasons why they might be shopping other brands. Price sensitivity, external factors like COVID-19, and if you can answer that question of what's in it for me, they're not going to spend the time or energy to find out. Some stats: 9% of customers consider themselves brand loyal, just 9%. And 36% feel like they're shoppers. They'd love to try other products and other brands. They like the experience of trying new things, which means that you're just one of many brands that somebody is going to consider before they purchase. So how do you react to that? How do you position yourself further up in the consumer's mind? When they see you at shelf, where do you fit into their consideration? 72% are going to take a look at 2 to 4 brands before making a purchase decision. And another stat, 86 are open to switching. I mean, that's scary. You don't want to be that brand that they switch out. How do you continue to engage them? How do you continue to have a place in their heart and their mind? And that's the content that you're putting out. We really consider this showing up to the customer, the current customer as well as the new customer. This is why content matters. But in order to figure out if your content is telling the right story, you have to be very objective. And we talk about an audit, an opportunity for you to look at all of your priority marketing vehicles and really size them up. How are you doing? How easy is the story to understand? Is it connecting with your customers? There are hundreds of places where you could tell your story. During COVID and beyond, we've really prioritized designing for a mobile experience. That's where the customers are going to find you. Leveraging your press engine, really putting public relations and press releases out there on a regular basis to get industry visibility of your content. Being deliberate and strategic about what you create, very important nowadays in order to get the engagement levels that you need with your customers to stand out. If not already, be very, very active on socials and create that inviting, engaging content. Online sales, if that's an opportunity for you, this is how people are shopping nowadays, and you really have the time right now, and you should take advantage of tightening up your e-commerce engine, making sure that that online shopping experience is just bulletproof. Email isn't dead, and we really feel it's an opportunity to engage the customers and call them to task. And then lastly, at least currently, we have to be very sensitive to issues surrounding COVID. And when you get that right, your marketing house is in order. Congratulations. But you can't rest easy. Your competition is trying to steal your customers from you. Many factors make competition even more fierce today. Factors like all the new brands that are out there, the online marketplaces, and the ubiquity of products. You've got differentiation. It's harder to distinguish between products and brands. It's really the marketing that helps to tell that story and help you stand out. It's really a level playing field in a way that we haven't experienced before. So we would ask the question of how you really stack up against your competition. Now is the time to be objective. Take a look at the audit that you did, add a lot of detail to the major and minor categories, and then weigh their relative importance against each other. That way you'll be focusing your attention on the marketing media that matters, the low-hanging fruit that you can easily accomplish to make real progress against your competitors. You want that audit to be in a format that the team can use, almost like a playbook. Identify the quick fixes, but then plan for the bigger projects. And then use this as a document that is not a one and done, but something that you update quarterly, for example. Over time, you're going to see progress against these priority marketing efforts that you've identified. Here's a client example with more detail to help the team get really specific with their review. Like we talked about, major and minor categories with a lot of detail, relative weighting against each other to show the priority efforts, and then what we call a storytelling index. Really apples to apples, where we're looking at your performance against a baseline, which identifies how you're performing, one, but also identifies opportunities in front of your brand. Now, your report may look very different from this. This is just an example. But the point is that you update this regularly and you track it over time. And you can also use this for your competitors. Imagine if you had this level of detail for your top 4 competitors. How would you react differently? Would you have the opportunity to instruct your team to create content to help you own niches, to help you take advantage of weak spots in your competitors' efforts? This is a very strategic tool to use to gain competitive advantage, because you're using the same baseline. Those things that you've identified in your audit that are important to you, you're also measuring the performance of your competitors. This will change over time, so it needs to be updated regularly. It's meant to provide direction to the team, and it's not meant to be critical of your content creators, just again identify that low-hanging fruit. There's probably a lot of other research that you're doing in addition to this to show how you stand up in the market. Add this to it, and if nothing else, this just reinforces your focus on the customer, which is so important nowadays. And if you do this correctly, you're going to stand out from your competition, not blend in. But who has the time for all this? We get it. There are a lot of competing priorities. You might be product first, and so that's your main focus. You've got, obviously, the day-to-day operations of your business to worry about. Life gets in the way. There are other factors. It's understandable because you're an owner or you're a manager and you wear a lot of hats. So why is it important to be the expert on your competitors? Because if you don't have this level of information on them, they may have it on you, which puts them in a stronger position. And in a tug of war like this for the consumer, the smarter brand is always going to win, every time. As we said, customers have nearly perfect information available to them, and they are researching brands in ways that they never have before prior to commitment and purchase. Our goal is always for you to become more discoverable to your customers. In order to do that, you got to get the basics right, and that's what we've discussed today. The fundamentals of marketing that are important post-COVID. Lean into and own your niche, that sweet spot that exists that your competitors can't claim. Unleash your stories. Really set your content free. Give it life. Have your customers engage with you at that level. Feed that engine of content and create a calendar. Make it very easy for you to always be producing high quality content that engages your customer. Make sure that that's disruptive and memorable, something that's going to stand out versus the competition. And then always look at the opportunity to replace your current customers. It's scary to think about, but we always suggest 3 customers for every current customer. So that's our goal with storytelling, marketing, and advertising. And when you get the basics right, your customers will pay more attention to you naturally. So our challenge to you today is know your share of mind, objectively measure yourself against your competitors, and set your brand up for new customer discovery. Making these tools part of your marketing routine will set you up for high-performing content, giving you the competitive edge within your industry. My name is Scott Colby. I'm an advisor at Market Your Craft, and we appreciate you viewing our presentation today.